stand by that comment. The other thing is that in the civil rights movement, not only around the country, but here in Kansas City, Kansas, women led the civil rights movement and have never been given the recognition that they deserve. We hear about Rosa Parks, may hear a little bit about Bethel Hamer and Lisa Pope. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. When she made that comment at the 1964 Democratic National Convention and told Martin Luther King and everybody else, no, we're tired. We're taking this stuff no more. She challenged him. One of Martin Luther King's main men said that if the women live the civil rights movement, I'm going with them. So I just brought some names of people you all probably very seldom hear about. It's Ida B. Wells Barnett, Ella Baker, amazing lady, who directed Dr. King, who directed SCLC, and you never hear her name. Read about Ella Baker. Fannie Lou Hamer. They finally erected some stuff in her little town where she lived in Mississippi. Amazing, amazing lady. Unita Blackwell. People like Gloria Richardson. These are people that you never hear anything about, but who really fuel the civil rights movement. We hear about Rosa Parks and all the things that she did, but that was a one-time thing, but they say sparkling. But these people like Ella Baker who kept our hands in the fire. I just wanted to say that if you get a chance, take a look at those books you might want to look at, see about person, and in particular for our young people. And let them read by people who know, people who can write the truth. Okay, now let me start my comments. How much time do I have? I don't talk to you. The Greek philosopher Cicero said, to be ignorant of history is to always remain a child. That says a whole lot. The question I always ask is, children are not ignorant. And that doesn't mean that you'll be a child as such. It just means that you'll be kind of left out. When I thought about what I do as how to approach the subject, vital issues, I initially thought about what is going on in our country now with our new president. But last weekend, everything changed again for me. I had an opportunity to make a presentation at Mother Bethel AME Church in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Do we have any AMEs in here? I know we have one. That's my good member, good friend, long time friend. Her mother was one of my mentors, Miss Johnny May. Okay. They have any AMEs. All AMEs in one lifetime should visit Mother Bethel, and everybody should visit Mother Bethel. It was a dream that I had when I was a child growing up in Arkansas. That's where the roots were cast, in a little town called Ashdown, Arkansas. That's 20 miles from Texarkana. And I never dreamed that I had an opportunity twice to go there, and I didn't go. But God did not want me to go. God wanted me to be there February 11th and 12th, 2016. And it was all due to my daughter. I said I had 3 daughters. I still have 3 daughters. Even though my youngest daughter is deceased, I still have 3 daughters. But my youngest daughter, who's been deceased since 2012, was responsible for not only being at Mother Bethel, but being there with an all-expense trip paid and being treated with royalty, all due to friendship with the pastor of Mother Bethel some 25 years ago. Now, Mother Bethel is where the AME Church was founded 202 years ago. The land on which it stands on is the oldest piece of property that has continuously been owned by African Americans in this country. I donated the material that we had lined up at the Wyandotte County Museum that they didn't have any room for, and really what they said is we really don't want it. I had the material that I had to give to Mother Bethel. And I had planned to give it to them 5 years ago. And I never got around to it. So I just called the pastor of Mother Bethel. He said, just as soon as I can get on a plane, I'll be in Kansas City and get the material. I'm going to rent me an SUV and take it back to Mother Bethel because they knew the importance. And he did it. And we loaded his SUV up and he hit everything that we could get in there, even stuff in the front seat, and we still have stuff. Yeah. But to be able to stand in this sanctuary and give comments there was a brunch. Now, the morning service, the bishop was there. And he spoke at the morning service. And let me say, I'm the emotional person. I don't mind crying. When I sat in that pew, my heart felt like it was coming out. And I started crying. My daughter, my middle daughter, Karen, was with me. And I couldn't stop crying for 5 minutes because in my heart, my ancestors, and I talk to my ancestors every day, said, we finally are here. My daughter Carla said, you finally here, Dad. I finally got you there. So everything I've ever wanted to go, place that I want to attend, I've been now, except Charleston, South Carolina. Today, there's a great fear in many Americans about what is going to happen in the future. As an older African American, I have no fear or anxiety and refuse to be caught up in the herd mentality. I've been here before. I've seen, as many of you have seen, and lived through times that would make this seem like child's play. As I said in the sanctuary, where former slaves and slaves sat, and without fear, but looking to the future, and they knew that they could exist. You could imagine living in that atmosphere with the Fugitive Slave Act in effect. And even Richard Allen, who started the church, who had been a slave and bought himself out of slavery, was even caught and was trying to be sold back into the South. But because of relationships that he had, because of his involvement in the community, in the city where he lived, some people vouched for him. People live through that type of atmosphere. So I said, why be anxious? Why be feared? Why be afraid? Because I read in a book someplace, I don't know where it was, but said, but God did not give us a spirit of fear, but a power and a love and a sound mind. We must make this become a reality. I think that the reason why we have so much fear is because all of the attention that the media now gives, and this fuels our fear. Now, what do I see as vital issues today? First, we must stay informed. And let me say, we saw history in this room today. Judge Dupree and his brother, they were not trying to make history. They were just doing what God told them to do. They were just doing what they felt and saw was necessary. That's history. We see it and we take it for granted. Just as Richard Allen and the people read about, they were not trying to make history. They were just doing what they were supposed to do and where God directed them to do, the things that he directed them to do. We need to know what's going on around us. I'm sure that they had something to do with their decision. They looked around and say, gee, with all this is going on, I've got to do something. Now, when I say be informed of what's going on around you, I don't mean to deal with that. Did you know? And the biggest liar in the world is our hood. Our herd. That's the biggest liar you could ever hear. It causes us so much confusion and causes us all mixed up, get mixed up. I tell people, they say, our hood, I ask them, who you hooded from? And if they won't tell me who they heard it from, I say, well, I really don't want to hear it. We've got to get away from that. And we believe that. We believe y'all heard information. Do you live in Missouri? Do you know the name of your council person and the mayor? If you live in Kansas, do you know the name of your mayor and the commissioners? These are the people that affect your life daily. They affect your quality of life. Trump will affect your life, but these people here, these affect your daily life. You need to be watching them more than you're watching Trump. I don't understand why we don't do this. In Kansas, you can look at it on TV. In Missouri, I don't know if they have it on TV or not, but look at it. And hear what they're saying and call. Make your voice heard. It makes a difference, believe me, because I've been there. And I know it makes a difference when they hear from us. Number 2, volunteer for something. Many of us have lived a long time, and we have much wisdom, and we must pass it on. I know that it is difficult to do sometimes, but we must do it. If there is a neighborhood group in your area where you live, be an active participant and take someone with you. Volunteer to go into the schools. And I know we have a lot of school teachers in here, and many of them are retired. And they say, I had enough. And y'all just to know how bad them kids were. I hear all that. But going back, it's mandatory now. You've got to do it. You've got to go back and talk to our children. Because there's something about older person relationship and a young person, particularly the ones who are in the grade school. There's a relationship that's a natural bond. Be a reader. Now, oftentimes they have one of the sports athletes reading to the students, and that is excellent. But athletes gone. But if you're reading, they may know you, they may see you, they may can be able to communicate with you. So just volunteer to go to the schools and read. Number 3, get to know your neighbor. You know, we're here, when I was growing up, I knew everybody in the block. And now we don't even know who lives next door to us. Get to know your neighbor and be a good listener. I hear people say, I don't know my neighbor, because I don't want them to get in my business, but most of them ain't got no business. In my opinion, this is self-defeating. There comes a time when your neighbor may be the only person that you may have to lean on. And listening, in my opinion, has become a lost art. We no longer are good listeners. And if we are good listeners, our attention span is very short. Now, that's not a criticism. So I know mine is very short. But our attention span is very short. But learn to be a good listener. Number 4, utilize technology. The vast majority of people who I know over 70, when I contact with them, they brag about, I don't know about no computer, I don't want to know. You know, and I listen and say, in the immediate future, if you don't know the basic fundamentals, you will have a difficult time managing your affairs. Now that doesn't mean that you need to be a whiz and go and know everything, but you're going to have to know how to pay your bills. You're going to have to do everything, and it's going to happen before you know it. And then you may have me or Clifford come in and handle all your bills. Not that we're taking anything, I'm just kidding. But you need to know the basic fundamentals. Most churches have a beginning class. Many institutes have a beginning class where you can go learn the basic fundamentals. Now, I know many of us see people with these phones. My grandson lives with me, and he uses the phone. And many people that you know, they on the phone all the time, doing this, And I guess I'm criticizing and not criticizing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with most things, as long as it's done equally. But I raise the question, are we losing the ability to communicate with each other? And with your texting, Are we losing the ability to spell? And most importantly, are you losing the ability to think for yourself? Coming back from Philadelphia, I was sitting next to a person who was on an iPad. You know, I know how to do just the basic stuff. And so she was on the iPad and she was really looking at something, but on the seat right in front of me, there was a lady who had her chair back. And so I said, well, you know, I've never really had an opportunity to see what they're looking at. So I'm just gonna look here and see what she's looking at. And so she was doing this and she was looking at scenery and just up there laughing, and maybe it was funny, and she had a picture, must have been some relevant going on. She looked at that for 2 hours. I'm going, and maybe I don't understand. Now, I'm not running down technology. Don't interpret that like that. I don't even know how we existed without computers now, the things that we do. Just writing this down, there was a time I'd have to sit down and typewrite it. My wife doesn't type anything. She makes me do everything. Now you can do it and save it and print it off. That's amazing. Technology is wonderful, so I'm not knocking technology. But all I'm saying is that no matter how old you are, learn how to do the basic fundamentals. Let me give the example. When I retired in 1998, the company I was president of, HW Sewing Company, we were the first insurance agency in the metropolitan area to have the agency completely computerized. That was due to a lady who now owns the agency named Thelma Cunningham, one of the most brilliant minds in the city. I knew how to do the financial part, because I felt that's all I needed to know. We had other people who could do the other part. And so when I retired, I said, ooh, I'm through. So I don't need to know. My daughter, who's deceased, said, Dad, you need to know about the computer. That's a common thing. I said, Carl, I retired. I don't know nothing about no computer. Well, my children, I guess they listened, and they all pig-headed. One day, Saturday, she lived in